So, good morning, everyone, on this fabulous Friday, March 5th. We have a special guest today, an alumna of King Drew. She is a former student of mine. She is also the sister to your fabulous teacher, Miss Soto, if you can't, make the connection. Um, and Miss Cooper, she probably was your student too. But she's an amazing young woman who's actually going to tell me what she's been up to. I know she's had many different careers, and today we're going to learn about this hypnotism.
Thank you. So I'm so glad to be here. I'm very excited. So, are you just gonna ask me questions, or should I talk about myself a
I'm
little?
sorry, my mistake. And then today we have Miss Nina Borden who has some questions for you. We'll be taking questions from obviously the class, but we have some questions already prepared. So Nina, have at it.
All right. Hi, good morning. Why did you choose hypnotherapy as your career?
I kind of fell into it. I was at a point where I was working in fashion, and I kind of wanted something different. And I read somewhere that when you're looking for what to be passionate about, you shouldn't look for what you're passionate about. Just look for things that you like because you're not going to know what you're passionate about. And for a long time, I was passionate about fashion, but I wasn't anymore. And so I just got really into like brain hacks and, reading about successful people and what is it that they do that makes them so successful. And I just kind of fell into this thing where, what can you do and to be more confident, to be um, more motivated. And I just fell upon hypnosis and I decided to get hypnotherapy for myself. I really loved it. And then I found a program from the person that I got hypnotherapy from, and I just decided to go for it. And at the time, I was just like, okay, I'm going to train myself in this for me. I wouldn't think I was going to do it for others. But the more and more that I did it, I'm like, this is what I want to do next. And that's how I started doing hypnotherapy.
So, what motivates you to work in this field every day?
It's just really interesting. You know, we self-analyze all the time, and we're like, oh, I have issues because of this, I can't do this, or we just even have beliefs like I'm just a lazy person, I can't get motivated. But it's something subconscious that happens when we think that we have a subconscious thought. Sometimes it's I don't deserve success, or you feel guilt. It's things that stop us from doing what we want, and it's subconscious, but you don't always know exactly what it is. And so when I'm in a hypnotherapy session, I'm like a little detective, or like, okay, sometimes these memories that we bring up that are associated with the problem are very boring memories. It's just like a memory of you being a kid, and but you learn things about your parents, about your surroundings, that basically make this foundation, this blueprint of rules that you live by. And so it's just really exciting to me to find out what is this thing that's holding my client back. And every time that we finish a session, my client is just so blown away. They're like, I knew all those things about me, but there's something about being in hypnosis that allows you to make the connections just faster. So my clients are always just blown away afterwards. And that is such a rewarding feeling. And just it excites me to be able to help someone.
So, how has hypnotherapy changed before COVID-19 and then now?
So I feel like people are more interested in it now. I've always done Zoom sessions. It's just easier because it could take like 2 hours, and then afterwards you're so exhausted because you're doing all this like introspective work. So that part has not changed, but of course, with everyone being at home, people are more aware of their issues. They're by themselves more, they're stressed out more, and I feel like people are more open to finding alternatives to what is generally known. And so people have been more curious about hypnotherapy. And so I've gotten more people asking me about it.
So, do you work with colleagues, and if so, how do you maintain a good relationship with him?
Yeah, so hypnotherapy is really it's like a private practice. However, I do work with my hypnotherapy school. So I do that part-time because I just started, and it's like a business. So you don't clients are not consistent in the beginning. Like any business, you don't know the how it fluctuates. So I decided to work with my hypnotherapy school, and so I do have coworkers there, and it's really great for me because we all have a similar background, or sometimes just similar experiences, but we also help students. So I'm also helping guide students who are learning hypnotherapy, and I'm grading a lot of tests. So kind of like a teacher, but just grading a lot of exams and giving feedback. And so I have to work with my colleagues because we sometimes encounter students who are just not picking up the material quick enough, and we have to collaborate on what we're going to do about that. And so it's all through Zoom, and they're in different parts of the country. The school is based in the UK, so hours are different too. I have one coworker in North Carolina, but everyone else is in the UK. My boss is in the UK, and so it's a lot of time management. It's a lot of me being aware that I'm only going to have 2 hours a day with my UK staff. So um, a lot of communication. Anytime I encounter something that I don't know, or I need more information, or like if something that was left off by another colleague, I have to make sure that I'm closing the loop, leaving messages. We have different like software that we use. There's this thing called Asana, so I'm leaving messages there, but always knowing that I always take it upon myself first to be the one responsible for the communication, and I think that if I always put that responsibility on myself, it leaves less room for miscommunication. And I'm not expecting that responsibility on them for them to make sure I'm okay. I'm making sure that I'm getting my needs met. And so always following up if I don't get my answer when I see them again. Just kind of like keeping tabs on everything that I need to do my job successfully.
And since you are an alumna of King Drew, has King Drew prepared you for the career you have today? And if so, how?
King Drew has prepared me in a lot of different ways that I didn't see until now. Um, you know, such a big thing about success in life is mindset. And mindset is just, your set of beliefs about yourself, about your abilities. And I feel that prior to King Drew, schools in my area were really not about you being the best that you could be. It was just kind of like, be the best to just pass school. And I understand where that's coming from, being in a neighborhood where everyone is not as financially secure, or there's things going on at home, you know, the genuine goodness of their heart is just pass here. But by setting that bar low, it sets your expectations low, and it also um, it makes you believe that potentially you can't be your best. And at King Drew, the bar was always set high for different things, and sometimes it was really annoying because you knew that other schools were not like that. But that's the part that's important, setting the bar high, setting your expectations high, because you have to believe that you can succeed. You have to believe that there's a version of yourself that's better tomorrow, or else you're never going to hit that target. I saw this interview with Blake. I can't remember her name right now, but she's the mentor of Spanx, and she was talking about something more physical. But she was in this show where she had to run and jump to achieve this target, and everyone else failed and she succeeded. And she said that when she ran, she didn't look at the target, she looked above the target, and that's why she was able to meet it. And I feel like King Drew in a lot of ways was that for me, in terms of science. I'm not sure if it's exactly the same, but I know that I had to take a science class all 4 years, even though I had met all my requirements by my 11th year. Math, even though I had already passed the general requirements, you had to continue taking calculus. All those things really matter because it's just setting you up for success.
What encouraged you to talk to our high school students today?
I think well, obviously my sister, she like gasses me up, but besides that, I remember myself when I was at King Drew, and I hated high school. God, I hated it so much. And so I feel like I owe it to my old self to come here and try to let you know, like, yeah, man, it sucks, and you don't know what you're doing, and you don't know what people trying to like follow your passion, but like, no, you're not going to know what your passion is. You're so young, and give yourself some grace. And just I wanted to come here and tell you, like, take action, follow things that you like, explore, and know that this moment in time is not going to be forever. And sometimes your universe in school, it feels like these small things that happen to you are everything, and then in retrospect you look at it and you're like, man, I wasted so much energy and time on such unimportant things that would stress me out. And so I really wanted to make sure I told you guys that.
And do you have any other key points that you want our students to take away from your presentation?
Yes, so explore, don't be afraid of changing your mind. I I one time went on an interview. It was when I was still in fashion, and but I was kind of pivoting towards more like trade shows versus just working in wholesale and fashion. And this person who interviewed me looked at my resume and said, "Wow, so it looks like you've kind of jumped around a little bit. It seems like this next job is really gonna be what is your deciding factor of your career for the rest of your life. Are you sure that you want to work here? Like, because this is kind of like your make it or break it." I'm like, I left that interview so deflated and like, wow, like, what am I doing with my life? All my choices have been wrong. And the thing is that that lady was just so wrong. Yes, it could look like that, but the world is changing continuously. And maybe that's a story that she had to tell herself in order for herself to be happy in the career that she stayed in. But don't let that stop you from following something that you are interested in, because things can change. A pandemic can happen and then all trade shows are canceled. Right? I don't know what that lady's doing right now, but she must be freaking out because that's what her career is. So don't let cal- caterpillar thoughts stop your butterfly thoughts, because a caterpillar can't see that they can fly. So don't be afraid of change, and but also don't be afraid of quitting when things get hard. So I think a good time to quit is when at its best it's not making you happy. So if at its best still makes you happy, don't quit. But at the second that it's no longer what you like, try something new. Keep figuring it out.
And was college initially part of your career path?
No, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And a bad habit is to say, I don't know what I want to do with my life. A better statement is, I don't know what I wanted to do with my life yet. Okay. You will figure it out. But saying that I don't know, it doesn't help you. Explore, try things. I think when I was in high school, I was very unaware of all my resources. There were so many things that I could have done. I could have like picked up a book. I could have just like Googled stuff, but I was so far removed because I'm like, well, I do like that, but I'm not like passionate. I can't see myself doing that every single day. Well, you're never going to know that if you don't even try it. So just take action. You have so many resources at your disposal. And if you feel like you don't, ask anyone, ask a teacher at King Drew. They will at least give you some kind of like, well, why don't you try this? You don't know what you don't know, and so you have to go out and look for it.
So that is all the questions I have for today, but you could also feel free to share any advice for our high school students.
Sure. So my sister did mention to talk about like interviewing skills. So I did want to like just comment a little bit about that. So I've had a lot of interviews, good and bad. I think when you're in an interview, the most important thing to know is that you are worthy of this job. And if for some reason you are rejected, there is a good reason behind that. And I had this interview where he was throwing me so many hard questions and I was just knocking them out and I was doing so great, but I knew he didn't like me. I was like, God, I can tell this guy just not I was interviewing with the CEO. Like, I could tell this guy dislikes me. And he was throwing these hard questions at me to like get me, to make me like, um, you know, fail the interview, but I didn't. And in the end, I still didn't get the job. And um, I had a friend who also applied for that job, but interviewed with someone else and got the job. Years later, I found out that that man was embezzling money from the company. And they ended up having to lay off a lot of people afterwards. And had I joined that job, it wouldn't have gone well. And so sometimes those companies are not good for you. So you can't let a rejection um, make you feel that there's something wrong with you or that your qualifications are not good enough or that your skills are not good enough. You just have to keep going. And when you're in an interview, it's all about eye contact, body language, um, pause to think about your answers. Even when I came on here, I had an idea of sort of what I wanted to say, but a lot of things are really just coming as they come. But taking a time to just pause and think about a question, have examples ready. Um, I had a couple that I just noted down for myself here, for example, like, oh, those are really good stories. So that's a good example when that happened, or an explanation of what I want to say. But just pause and think when people ask you a question, like, what are challenges that you have faced? Don't be afraid to pause and reflect, because sometimes we think in interviews they just want like an answer like quickly, but they want a genuine answer. And make sure your mindset's on track before you go on an interview. Be excited. Tell yourself, I'm excited to be here. Sometimes when we're nervous, uh, our thought process is to go towards, I'm not going to do well. Oh my God, this is going to go bad. Oh my God, what if this goes bad? But you can trick your body using that same nervous feeling and say, oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And it's so interesting how your mind just does what you tell it to do. So if you continue to say, I'm excited before an interview, you will start that interview excited. So trick your mind, tell yourself better things, better thoughts. What you focus on, you create more of. So if you're looking for reasons why someone's not going to hire you, if you're looking for reasons why something's going to go bad, that is where you're going to go towards. So shift that. Tell yourself reasons why it's going to go well. Tell yourself that you're excited. Move your body. Before I started on here, I was like moving my body, making myself, I was excited, that I'm like alert, because I am excited to be here, but I can definitely go through thoughts of why this would go wrong, or thoughts of why I'm not good enough for this talk. Imposter syndrome is real, but it's because you feed into that. You have to accept the fact that you are good enough. And I think that's it. Any other questions from anyone?
If anyone has questions, go ahead and just type them in the chat, and I can go ahead and read them out loud.
I just wanted to make a comment. I think the story you told of your interview with the man you said who didn't like you, who was embezzling money, was, it was probably a blessing that he recognized that you weren't going to probably, let him be the person he was. So
I think so. It's so interesting because he did something that was really weird at the time, and it's interesting now, it's like years past, that I recognized it as something that he was doing. When the interview started, we were on the roof deck top of new house. It's like a WeWork, but like it's called new house, but it's more expensive, so it's like offices. So we were on the rooftop having this interview out, and he asked me like, oh, would you like some coffee? Like, we'll order you some coffee. And I was like, oh, I don't drink coffee. So I'm totally fine. Or like water's fine. And he still ordered me a cappuccino. It was 90 degrees out. So they brought out this huge cappuccino. It's 90 degrees. I'm like already kind of sweating in my nice dress. And I saw that and I'm like, why did he order me that? Because it was him plus 2 other people who were just there to hang out with us. So he was asking me questions in front of other people. And it was a power move. It's I've read recently where people they will test your boundaries and they will test your no. So when you say no and someone doesn't take your no for an answer, it's manipulative and they're testing to see if they can take advantage of you. And so he was testing my boundaries by bringing me a coffee after I said I don't drink coffee to see if I would drink it just to be on good terms for this interview. And I didn't. And I think that is what he was looking for. I think he didn't like the fact that he couldn't pressure me into accepting that coffee. It's crazy.
Wow. I think we need to have Juliette come to do a PD for the faculty.
Oh, we've talked about it.
Like hired for the whole staff. Okay, sorry. Kids, no questions? Before I take over, anything in the chat? Or unmute yourselves?
So one of my students is asking, how long did you have to study? So maybe you could talk about.
Yes. So initial study is like around 6 months, but then you also have to complete all these things for the entire year. And so I had to have a lot of sessions where people would review me and I would review them. So to make sure that we're actually doing it correctly. So sometimes people will, there are also like, it's kind of also case by case. So like some students who are not doing as well, we add extra requirements. So I had to submit like a video of me doing a session so they could see exactly how I did it. And if I not only did all the basic stuff, but sessions are complicated. So you have to figure out the root cause of an issue, and you could do all the other steps correctly, but if you still don't get that part, because some of it has to do with like listening of, you're investigating a memory or a memory of this client, and it's really easy to just gloss over something really important. And so if a student can't see it and you're like, why didn't you ask about this, we add more requirements. So if it clicks faster, it's a little faster, and if it doesn't, it can take longer. So it kind of varies, but I would say about a year.
And I'm going to ask this as a follow-up, since you said you're working with the UK. Is it the same certification? Like, is that something that you could go over there and keep working?
So that is also complicated. So certification differs by states in the United States. So even though I got my training in the UK, the requirements will be different by state to state. So in California, you can like my certifications match, but like in other states, they don't. You have to get like additional certification from the state. I see some questions in here. I don't know if I should ask them. So my grades in high school were, they were pretty okay. I think I had now I just remember my college one. School, I think I had a 3.4, which was like, it was okay. I could have done so much better. It's funny how you see back and you're like, school wasn't that hard. It was just hard to get myself to do the work. That was the hard part. The mundane stuff, the stuff of just showing up. School, it was a little expensive. I'll be honest. It wasn't like cheap, but at that point I was already working. It's expensive in different ways for me because I had the money because I was working at my fashion job. I used to be a senior account executive for a handbag company. So I had that money, but I had no time. So it was a lot of me basically not having any free time. So I was working all day, then doing the school all night. Weekends, I used all my vacation time for the school because some of it is online and then some of it is in person. So you have to go train in person. So so it was expensive also in that sense. So any other questions? So I now do have a lot of free time, but it's like entrepreneurship is like kind of crazy because you do have free time, but I'm consistently thinking about work in the back of my mind compared to when I worked in fashion. When I would leave work, it was out of my mind. I was like, I'm not thinking about it at all. But I was at the office all of the time and I had to travel a lot for work. So I was physically at work a lot. And now I'm physically not, but my mind is thinking about work because you know, entrepreneurship, every job you have to learn sales. Like you have to learn how to sell yourself, how to sell your ideas, how to communicate, how to listen to what your client or colleagues are needing of you and what you can provide for them. So it's everywhere. But specifically, even now with my clients, there's so much to do with marketing. So I know of a lot of hypnotherapists that struggle with that because you just want to help people, but the other part of it is you also have to be able to communicate what you can offer or how you can help your clients in order to get the clients. And that is going to be marketing and that is going to be selling. So I miss certain parts of fashion, but when I really think about it, I miss sorry, I'm just answer the questions here. I miss my colleagues. And I miss going to trade shows, but I do not miss setting up for trade shows. It was long hours. We'd show up, we'd fly in, set up, we wouldn't leave till like 9 o'clock at night, and then you have to be up the next morning, like ready to go. I do miss seeing the fashion because I used to be it inspires you to be fashionable, inspires you to dress up. So I miss elements of that. But I was really done with that career maybe a year before I left. So I think it was one of those very slowly, every day I'm like, yeah, this is not for me anymore. Let's see. Any other questions? Oh, and if I do I ever feel like I'm going to change my career again? Probably, because I think I've noticed that at least my personality is I want to try all the things. I know that life is short, and especially now that once you realize like you can kind of do anything, I want to see what else am I interested in? What else can I do? I think I read an article that um, millennials, my generation, is going to or will have at least 3 careers in their lifetime. So I'm on number 2 right now, and I can only imagine how that's going to change in the future because I think people have been stuck in this hole. I think my parents' generation, you find one thing, you do that for the rest of your life, and that's quickly changing as we can see. Like there's so many possibilities. Anything else?
Maybe mention something about like your college experience or anything like.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So when I went to college, I didn't know what I was going to do. So I was very like I guess practical. I decided to get a degree in business because I figured, well, business, I can apply that to anything. Um, I think I would still choose that degree now, but actually, I was so interested in science. I sometimes wish I could have gone back into that. There was a teacher at King Drew that really got me into science, and that was Mr. Emerson. He was a physics teacher. Oh my God, he made physics so much fun. And in the beginning, I was having a hard time because it had a lot of, well, science math in it. But I remember I aced my final, which was the craziest thing ever because I was getting like B's and C's in his class at the time. And I think I missed an assignment. So it barely gave me a B in that class. But to have a perfect, I had a perfect score for my final, I think goes to show you how I started in that class and how I ended. Um, so I think I wish I would have gone more into science, but when I was in high school, I was just trying to get to college. I was lucky enough that Elizabeth, she was in college when I was in middle school. And so I got to see what college was like. And it looked so much fun. Everyone was just doing their own thing, living their own life. I'm like, what? You don't have to worry about like my mom here. Like you can just like stay out as late as you want. That's all I saw when I thought of college. Fun. Uh, so uh, the second I got to college, I remember I was so paranoid about failing because I kept hearing all these stories about people failing and your GPA being so low. So I was so paranoid that I was so on top of school that I remember my first quarter, I got all A's. And I was like, hold up, I got a 4.0? That's possible? It wasn't even that hard. I just showed up every single day. I did all the work. It's like, sometimes you don't really see it until you see it, but it's so attainable. It's just sometimes we make it feel like it's unattainable, but you have all the resources. It's very possible. Um, and so I ended up I didn't keep the 4.0 because I ended up joining a sorority, but I don't regret it at all because, that's how you make friends. That's how you get the whole experience of college, of managing a lot of things. Definitely joining that extracurricular activities took away time, and so it was really difficult to juggle that with school. And so I think I ended up with get the 3.67 in college, so I still got like cum laude honors. But I loved college. It's a definite recommend. Is there anything else, Elizabeth? I don't know what you want me to talk about college. I feel like I just went on a long rant about how amazing college was.
No, I think that's well, we're ending our time also. We have 3 minutes, but I think that's exactly what they need to hear. That I mean, you talked about so much. There's so much in this presentation. I feel like that's why maybe students are still kind of like they don't even know what to ask. It's so rich. It was a lot. Even for me, as I'm listening to your presentation, it's some of the things uh, are a repeat of conversations that we've had, but some of the things are just like, oh, that's right. Oh, wow, I didn't know that. It's like, let me take that into note. So you
Hmm.
gave us a lot. Thank you. This was
Oh,
um,
I see one more question if I should answer it.
okay. Yeah, go ahead.
What is your major, and if I chose the right major is important. I chose business. I don't regret it. And what the right major is, um, you're just not going to know. And it doesn't seem, at least from my experience, it doesn't seem like it matters what your major is. I had a friend who majored in dance. She was a dancer. She went back to school because she's like, I should probably have a degree because when she graduated high school, she was a rockette in New York. So she started working at 19, went back to school for her degree in dance. And she's now like, uh, she does like accounting. So like I don't think she went back to school for accounting. When she was my coworker, she was like a jack of all trades, and she just ended up getting a lot of accounting training at work. And that's what she does now. So I don't really think that it matters a lot. I think choose something that at least in that moment you think is where you want to like head towards. And again, if you change your mind, then adapt, pause, adapt. What do you need to do now in order to change? And I think that's the hard part, right? Because I did all that school. I have like 10 years experience in fashion, and all of a sudden I'm dropping all of that to do hypnotherapy. It's hard to just stop and be like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. Let me do this. One could say that I should have done psychology. One could say that I should have done that route, but I didn't. I just stopped and just pivot. That's all you can do.
Well, thank you so much, Miss Juliette Soto. Truly
Yeah.
appreciate you coming here today and, sharing your wisdom and your experiences. Yes, thank you so much. And, everyone, if you want, go ahead and join us in thanking our speaker today. What a special treat for me, because I get all of this wisdom and knowledge at home in the family.
That's a powerful family, the Soto family.
Yes.
Don't be fooled. And there's proof. There's more. It's just there's another sister, so
I know.
she's next.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and end